Hello, friends. Welcome to my kitchen. And today we're working with a cream of green soup. I'll break that down in just a moment. But if you're just hopping in, say hello, your name, where you're joining from, just so I know who's here. My name's Emily. I am a master trainer with CorePower. And hello, Samson. And I will be guiding you through Ayurveda practices today with quarantine cooking. Samson is joining us from sunny Chicago. It's sunny here in Berkeley as well, and is our moderator for today. So again, if you're just logging in, we'll get started in just a couple minutes, but feel free to type your name, where you're joining from, and if you joined us last week for the spring spice mix, what have you been using it in, and how has it been making you feel? So please share, and we'll get started in like 2 minutes here. And Samson, hopefully you can see the layout of everything we'll need today. Can you hear me okay? Please let me know. You missed the prompt. Okay. So the prompt is, today we're cooking cream of green soup. Awesome. And I'll be talking about why we're cooking this. And today we'll be doing an asparagus, but there's other greens you can use, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But if you are just joining, type your name, where you're joining from, and if you did make the spring spice mix last week with us, what have you been using it in, and have you noticed it have an impact in your mood, your energy, or your overall physical feeling of your body? So please share that in the chat function so I know you're here and engaged. All right. Hi, Maddie from Chicago. Welcome. Samson, you have been doing your spring spice mix in your bone broth. Awesome. Hi, Em. You're from the CPY online TT class. Awesome. Well, welcome. Okay, so Samson is moderating today. So he'll be typing in the chat function in terms of supporting with recipe, as well as responding to your chats, because I might not be able to see them all as we're cooking. Again, my name's Emily Schmuckler, and I'm joining you from Berkeley, California. I currently serve as a master trainer on the yoga and transformation team at CorePower. And today we'll be quarantine cooking for Ayurveda. And the recipe that we'll be working with is, I call it cream of green. So you can really utilize any sort of green veggies, whether it's Brussels sprouts or kale. Today I'll be working with asparagus, and I'll talk about why with asparagus in just a moment. But other options, broccoli, and collard greens, mustard greens, green beans, all those types of things. So the reason why cream-based vegetable soups, and this is actually not real cream. We're doing a vegan version of cream. They're moist, they're grounding, they're soft, and they're smooth. And so in this time where, you might be feeling a little overwhelmed during the pandemic, or your mind is a little scattered or you're feeling a little heated. Yesterday we talked about pitta dosha, so a little bit of anger or frustration or irritation, or you're just reactive. This soup can be very nourishing, for your nervous system. It can be very grounding for your energy. And it also is lightening. So if you're feeling any sort of heaviness or sluggishness in your body, physically or mentally, it can really help to boost your the heaviness feeling out of your body and be a little bit more lightening for you. And I'll unpack that a little bit as we go. And you're welcome to use traditional dairy products if that serves you. I find that this is a nice way to also get a little added protein into the soup. And so what you'll need today to make this soup is a handful stock of asparagus. So I've got, these are already rinsed off. The recipe also calls for, I believe it's a cup. I'm just flipping through to my recipe page. A half a cup of cooked white beans. So if you have time to make your own white beans, awesome. I love making beans from scratch, but today, for this short amount of time we have together and Ayurveda life hacks, so we have canned beans for a reason. So these are great. They're organic, great northern white beans. I got these from Trader Joe's. I've already emptied out. The thing when you're cooking with canned beans, and that's the cream part of our soup, is that you want to rinse them and then drain them, because sometimes the water that they're sitting in can have extra like salt and things like that to preserve the beans. So strain them, rinse them. We've already strained them and rinsed them off. So here's my can, and I'm only going to use a half a cup of these for the soup recipe. The other thing that the recipe calls for would be spring salts. I actually didn't prepare any spring salts, so what I'm going to use is the spring spice blend that we made last week, as well as Himalayan salt. Himalayan salt is a great salt as opposed to sea salt, which can cause water to retain. Himalayan salt has a special quality where it can actually help to reduce the water quality in your body. So it is great for kapha and pitta doshas who need a little support in that area. And also, if you use sea salt when you're using regular seasonings, sometimes it can pull the water content out of the vegetables, and that's the only flavor that goes on your veggies, as opposed to the other spices that you're using. So you want to always add the spices first before you add salt, so that your spices have time to cook. The other thing that is in the other thing that's in the recipe, or in the spring spice mix, or salt mix rather, is lime peel, or lemon peel rather, excuse me, lemon peel and basil. And so what I've done is I've gotten some fresh basil that we're going to use, which we'll chop up and just add at the end, as well as I don't have any lemon, so hi Kayla, welcome. So we'll use lime today, and you'll need a little bit of juice of lime. So let me just repeat back what you need, and Samson, you can type it in the chat function. You'll want a bunch of asparagus stalks. Broccoli is always an acceptable option for this soup. 2 cups of water, or if you'd like to use vegetable stock, that's fine as well. You can use olive oil, like a teaspoon of olive oil, or today I'm going to use ghee just because I do like the taste of ghee a little bit better in the soup. You'll need a half a cup of cooked white beans, and then again, other options to make your soup creamy. You can use dairy products like a cream or a milk, or even like an almond milk alternative milk. I love the bean option because it packs in a little bit more protein, and white beans are astringent, so they add an extra layer of lightening to the body, so pulling extra water content out of the body. You'll want spring salts, a teaspoon of that. What we'll substitute today is our spring spice mix we made last week and adding some Himalayan salt and fresh herbs. You'll want a quarter of a lemon. And again, you don't have to be super, I usually add things, kind of pinches here and there as opposed to measuring them out, but up to you. So about 2 wedges of lemon, but today we'll be using lime because I don't have any lemon. And then obviously fresh ground black pepper is great to help stoke the digestion. So the first thing that we'll start with is the asparagus. You'll take your bunch of asparagus, and while it's cooking down, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the why behind asparagus. Our Great Northern and cannellini beans, the same. Both are white beans. Yes, they are the same. Garbanzo beans are an okay bean. They can be a little bit harder to digest if you have a sensitive digestive system. So that's also another alternative. So you'll take your asparagus bunch and you'll want to cut about 2 inches off the end because that's where the stalks of the asparagus tend to get a little rough and harder to digest. So we cut the ends off and donate it to your food scrap bin. And again, I apologize for the layout of this visualization. This is like the only layout option I have in my teeny little kitchen. So about 1 to 2 inches off, and then chop your asparagus down. So I like to do about inch cuts of the asparagus, including the heads. So I'll just show you. There's your nicely chopped asparagus. You'll add it to your pot. I love using stainless steel pots because you can see everything. And then with your measuring cup, you'll measure about a cup of water. You can always, again, use vegetable stock if you prefer for flavor. I like the simplicity of water. So now I'm adding the cup of water. I'm going to turn my stove on up to about a medium-high temperature. So, and you'll cook it for about 7-ish minutes or so. So until the asparagus is tender. I'm actually going to add a lid to it just to expedite the process. Okay, lid is on. So now, you'll also need either a blender or if you have a immersion blender, that will also work. So I'm gonna pull my immersion blender out. These are super cheap on Amazon, or if you live like near a Target or something. I never thought I would use an immersion blender, and then I purchased one and I love it. Also, life hack, if you have an Instant Pot, you can throw all your ingredients into your Instant Pot, turn it on. I would say probably just cook it, pressure cook for about 2 minutes. It won't take very long for everything to cook down, and then blend from there. So here's the immersion blender. This will be ready to go once we need it. So notice I haven't added anything else to the pot. It's just asparagus and water, and that's cooking. So this is a really just simple and delicious way to eat your asparagus. Adding things like lemon and lime are going to add a little bit more extra zest. They're sour and they're a sour but also astringent taste, and they continue to help support the bitter aspects of asparagus. So bitter is an asparagus has a bitter taste, and what bitter does is help to detoxify the body and it helps to reduce the amount of water that we carry in our body. It purifies the water element in our body. So we're in kapha season, and asparagus grows lovely in most areas during spring season. So this is a great vegetable to use. The other options for vegetables in this season, you could get broccoli. Broccoli also has a lightening quality, just like asparagus, and it's bitter. I also love, it is a little watery, but I love, and also it helps support pitta too. So as we move into the summertime, these soups can also be eaten in the summertime. I love zucchini. Zucchini is a great bitter vegetable. It is a little waterier, so but it's not as bitter. It's a little more mild. So you could also use zucchini, great squash. Kale is great. Some people have a harder time digesting kale because it's a cruciferous vegetable. So you just need to cook it down a little bit longer. This is pretty simple because it only takes about 7 minutes to cook the asparagus till it's nice and tender, and then it's easy to blend. This will also be a serving for about 2 people, or 2 servings, the quantity that we're making. If you want to make it larger, just add more water, and then you'll add a little bit more of the beans. Okay, any questions? So let's see, I know I saw some people typing in. Thank you, Samson. Oh yeah, Kayla, I'm not sure how to make you a moderator, or I don't know that Samson knows how to either. But so now our asparagus is cooking down. It's already starting to simmer. I'd love to see if you have any questions to type in. Please share. While that's cooking, I'm also going to get my cannellini bean measured out while you're typing your questions in. So again, about a half a cup of cannellini beans, or Great Northern beans, or you can use almond milk, you can use dairy, but the beans again are astringent, so they're a really great resource, A, for protein, and B, to help continue to reduce our water element, as well as reduce and support the heated element in the body, the fire element. So as things heat up, no matter where you live. What is cruciferous? A veggie. Yeah, so it's just it's a family of vegetables like broccoli. It's a Harry Potter word. Broccoli, kale, cauliflower, when eaten raw, can be very hard on the digestion. So if you have IBS or Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, can be very challenging to eat, especially raw. And it's really important to cook it down very well. My soup is already boiling, so I'm actually going to lift the lid so that it just boils naturally. And I'm measuring out my cannellini beans. I promise I didn't go far. Here we have about a half a cup of cannellini beans. So I'm going to move the camera just so you can see what this looks like. It actually smells really yummy, the asparagus. One second. I have this kind of interesting setup so that my my device stays charging. I don't want it to fall. Whoop! That was my book. Okay, so this is the awesome asparagus cooking. It smells really lovely. And while that's cooking, we've got the cannellini beans measured out. In addition to the beans, once it's cooked for about 7 minutes, we'll turn the heat off and remove it from the heat, or just turn the heat off, and then we'll add the remaining ingredients. Then we'll blend it, and then we'll reheat it. So I'm going to put the immersion blender to the side. Now I'm going to get this basil chopped up and ready, and add it more as a garnish as opposed to directly into the soup. And maybe we'll add a little bit to the soup. It does call for more of a dried basil as opposed to fresh, but the basil itself, this herb is hot in potency, which means when you digest it, it's hot, so it helps to melt away. Again, we're looking at these bitter and astringent foods, but also the melting away quality that helps to reduce any sort of mucus or these phlegm or things that kind of come up in the respiratory system. So let me just give these a little rinse. Okay, so a fun thing that I learned, I love to watch cooking shows, is that you stack your leaves. I think it's called a chiffonade, the way you cut this. So you stack them like so, and then roll them. So they're in a nice tight roll. Wipe off the extra asparagus. And then you chop it. And it's in these like little pretty rounds that you get from the chiffonade, which is kind of fun. Okay, so I'm going to check on the asparagus with the fork and just see how tender it's gotten. We'll give it like 2 more minutes. I love that too, Rachel. And then because the salt, the spring salt calls, another Harry Potter word, yeah, chiffonade, calls for a lemon peel. I'm actually going to just do a quick little shaving of lime peel. So if you have lemon at home, great. What am I looking for? Here we go. Got a fun little cheese grater. And just do a little bit of lime zest. That is not coming out. Let's try it again. Ah, there we go. Just need to give it a little bit of elbow grease. Okay. It's not a lot, but it's definitely going to add some flavor to your soup, some freshness of the zest. Okay. Any questions so far? All right, I'm going to turn the heat off. So at this point, if you have a blender, you would turn the heat off. You're going to add the extra ingredients to the pot, and then you'll add it you'll add all of the ingredients to a blender, blend it up, and put it back on. Because I'm using an immersion blender, what I'll do is I'll add my 1/2 cup of cannellini beans. So I'll just show you through the camera. Whoops, sorry. Just looking at my forehead. This is a really good, I gotta get better at this setup here, friends, in my little kitchen. Okay, so we add the cannellini beans. Okay, and then I'm gonna grab a 1/2 cup of water, or rather a full cup of water. So I've got another cup of water that I'm adding. And then it calls for a teaspoon of the spring salt blend, but because again, we didn't make that, we made our spring spice mix. So this was from last week. I'm gonna add like 2 pinches of that to the soup. And a little bit of pink Himalayan sea salt, or salt, not sea salt. use your judgment of taste. You can always add more later. We'll add a little bit of this fresh basil. And then I've got my lime zest. Boom. We got it. Now again, if you have a blender at home, this is when you would take your pot of deliciousness and add it to the blender. But we're not doing that with this one. We're going to do an immersion blender. So I will move the camera once I get this plugged in so you can see with the immersion blender. I'd always get really scared using this, but it's super simple to use. Okay, so here's what it looks like before we blend. And I'm gonna blend it all up. Okay, it's hard for me to do this with one hand, so I'm gonna put that down while I blend this and show you the afterwards. The longer you cook your veggies, the creamier your soup will be. And the more you blend it, the silkier it gets, which helps to nourish your nervous system. The one thing I forgot to add was the ghee. I'm almost done blending, so this is perfect timing. So you can add a teaspoon of organic olive oil. We made ghee a couple weeks ago, so I just want to use what we made. Adding a little ghee. But again, if you're feeling extra boggy or heavy or sluggish, olive oil is a lighter option than ghee. Ghee can be a little heavy, but a teaspoon doesn't hurt too much. This is what cooking in real life is, huh? You hope it's not too boring. The fancy cooking shows have like fun takes in and out. When they show you the end product as opposed to while it's happening. All right, this is just about done. Cool. Now, what you want to do is, if it's not hot enough to your taste, you'll obviously turn the heat back on to heat it. It could use a little bit more heat. It's actually super yummy. I'm going to show you what it looks like. So I'm just going to turn it on real quick. Hi. I'll pour it in a bowl. There's the creamy soup. We'll add a little bit of lime juice at the end. So you just need about a quarter of lime juice. That's about 2 wedges, but again, it calls for lemon juice if you have. Lemon is just a little bit sweeter than lime. Lime's a little more bitter. So if you're feeling extra agitated, lime is a better option. And I'm going to show you, pour it in a bowl, and then I'll open it up for final questions. We'll do a little taste together. Okay, where's my bowl? I feel like a glass bowl would be the most appropriate so you can see it. And then the other fun thing about the cream soup is that it really is comforting. It brings back kind of that nostalgia of, I don't know if anyone used to drink or eat cream soup when they were a kid, but and this is just like a healthier alternative during the spring season. We'll add a little lime juice. I'm going to save a little bit for the whole pot, and some fresh basil. And voila, here is our cream of anything, or cream of green. And this is cream of asparagus soup with cannellini beans. So I'm going to take a little, oh, and then the other thing, I forgot one more ingredient. Always black pepper to taste. So adding a little fresh ground black pepper. The rainbow peppercorns are great during spring season. They add just a variety of different peppers. And give it a little stir. Let's see how it tastes. That is delicious. It is creamy and light, beautiful color. You know you're getting your greens in, and this is also just a really great alternative if you're like a green juice drinker, but you have some vata imbalance or nervous system imbalance. This is a great way to get your greens in without overdoing it on the cold qualities of juice. So yummy. The black pepper adds a little extra heat to help with digestion, and make sure that you, just throw it in the regular blender to help with any sort of digestive issues or help support your digestion as you eat your soup. Okay. Kayla, you're a moderator now. Welcome back to moderation. So, thank you, Em. We are just about at time, so I'm going to leave the line open for any questions, or you're making it tonight and you're using a very old-fashioned blender. You know, the good news is if you use asparagus, it's not a very crunchy veggie, so it doesn't take very long to cook, and it blends really easily. The immersion blender I have isn't like amazing, and it's okay if there's a couple little pieces of your stock of asparagus head or anything like that. So again, please type in the chat function if you have questions, or what vegetable you're going to explore making your cream of soup with. If you'll use beans, or maybe you'll use almond milk, a little bit more lime or lemon. Yeah. Thank you, Mia. It's true. The lime and lemon, a little bit different. What would be a good dish to go alone with this soup? I mean, the sky's the limit, Samson. You can make some fresh rice to make with the soup. If you eat animals, you can make a really delicious fish to go with it. Or one of my favorite is pressing out tofu. So you'll take the tofu out, you'll press and take all the water out, and then fry it on a pan. Add some tamari or some liquid aminos, a little sesame. Really delicious. Awesome. Thanks, Gabby. I'm so excited you'll be making it. So team, next week we'll be back, and I believe, I'm not sure if I'll be back on Thursday again. Keep a lookout on the YouTube lives. We may just merge Wednesday to be both lifestyle and diet, either starting next week or the following week. Again, my name is Emily. I'm here Wednesdays and Thursdays currently to support you at home in your pandemic with cooking in the kitchen through diet and lifestyle, and through the lens of Ayurveda and how to support and nourish your nervous system. We also have Monday through Friday, the 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 30-minute sessions. Samson leads a wonderful pranayama section on Mondays at 3. Check him out. Anthony leads emotional lifestyle balancing practices on Tuesdays. Heather's with us on Friday leading energy balancing. And they're all for stress relief. And so it's so important, especially in this time, to take care of yourselves, even if it's just some simple. And this soup is so nourishing. If you have kids at home, you can sneak in. I promise they'll like it. Sneak in a little soup, adding some rice to it. Your kids will probably eat it up. And join us on live.corepoweryoga.com for yoga classes. We'll be adding more class times to that as well. And we also have free yoga class, 30 minutes, Monday through Sunday, 11 or 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Yeah, thank you, Samson. Any more questions? I'll be on for one more minute and then we'll end the session together. I can't wait to hear how your soup is, what you explore making it with, and who in your home eats it and enjoys it. Thank you so much for joining me in my kitchen for Ayurveda quarantine cooking. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Thursday. Namaste.